Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and I'm here to share with you my outside the box ideas that I created with the Change is Beautiful April 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! These kits are automatically delivered to me each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This month's kit contains supplies for making 9 amazing cards, 3 of 3 designs. Each kit includes a publication like this one with directions, full color illustrations, details about the kit, and a link to access a how-to video so that you can assemble the cards or projects as shown. The kits also include inks and stamps that can be used again and again, even after the consumables are used up. This April kit included a Melon Mambo colored ink pad and this exclusive stamp set. The kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these in the alternate projects I create for you today. You can find the items I used listed below and linked to my online store. You can also find links for learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects that you're going to see today. I received a large clear block with my first paper pumpkin kit to use with all my future stamps. That tool and my scissors are the only things that I'll need for completing my kits as is. But you'll notice that I substitute that block for the ergonomic Stampin' Up! Blocks. I also use a larger version of the ink pad and some additional adhesive, such as my Stampin' Seal. You won't need these, but they are available products from Stampin' Up! And they're a bit easier and quicker for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. By the way, if you're looking for ideas for past kits, visit my website at stampyourartout.com. Click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu and then choose Recent or Older Posts. I've been creating and sharing alternates since March of 2013 when Paper Pumpkin first began. I'm excited to create, so let's get started. We're going to take this Z fold card and we're going to turn it into a normal open and close card like this. We're going to trim off this section here down the middle where we have the score line. And interesting fact here, we have 2.5, 2.5, and obviously those together do not make 5.5 inches. So you're going to see this extra ½ inch here. We're going to add in some extra cardstock. We're going to bring in black and white. So basic black and basic white. This is going to be the front of our card, the little image on the front. We're going to fold here. Let's use our bone folder just to give it a good crease. But I thought it'd be fun to make this stand out just a little bit more by adding a layer of black cardstock. So we know that it's 4¼ inches tall and we know that it's 2.5 inches wide. So we're going to bring in some scrap of black and we're going to make that 2 3/4 inches by 4¼ and that's going to get layered onto here like that, and now this piece will really stand out a lot more. So this Z fold card has other pieces, this little sentiment strip here and some other flower pieces. I'm trying to hang on to as many pieces as possible, so we're going to save the large flower, a couple of the yellows, and this strip for another project later on. And we're just making this normal open and close kind of card, but I love the way this peeks out like this here and then opens like that. So we're going to be using the largest of the yellow flower on the inside, and then I've cut some other panels of white cardstock. So I've got a piece here that is 2 by 4 inches, and then this piece is 1 inch. And how long do I have this? I think it's a little over 3 inches. That's going to go on the front, and you can either use our banner punch to cut, or you can just do it by hand. If you're going to do it by hand, you're just going to cut in about 1/4 inch, and then you're going to go from this corner here to where that cut stopped, and then you're going to go from this corner to where that cut stopped. And now you've got a fun little banner piece. So let's go ahead and stamp these 2 pieces. We're going to use our Melon Mambo ink, the ink color that comes in the kit. And again, I'm using the larger version just because it's easier for me while I'm doing the video. We're going to stamp Beautiful Things Take Time. That sentiment is so sweet. And then I Believe in You. This piece will go on the inside of the card, and this piece will go on the outside. And I paused the video because I stamped it crooked. So I re-stamped it on the other side. We've got dimensionals on the back here. And then we're going to put seal adhesive on the back side of this one. This will get mounted to the left of our black piece over here. And that will allow us about 1/2 inch to be connected to our card. So I'm going to go ahead and just run my seal adhesive along the side here. And then we're going to connect, and we're going to check before we press it all the way down. We want to make sure that everything's lining up. That looks good. And then if you need to, you can come in and you can see how I've got a little bit of black extending beyond here on the bottom. I'm just going to trim that up. There we go. This piece I'm going to add with a dimensional on the inside. Just to give it a little lift and a little pop when you open it up. Here's where you can write, but you can also, of course, as you know, write on the back side of your card if you need to have a few more things to say. And now let's add this to the front. You could also put this up on dimensionals, but our sentiment piece is going to be on dimensionals, and I didn't want to make the card too bulky. This is going to go about here. And then we're going to add some of these embellishments. Lost my cap. So these things are kind of fun, odd shapes. Just add them with your Take Your Pick tool, and we're going to add 3 of them. Like so. Or you can use your paper snips to add them. By the way, there's different shapes on here, I believe. Yeah, some of them are squarish, some of them are more rectangular. Kind of fun. All right, one more thing that I want to mention that you can do to make this card even more exciting for the recipient is you can mail it in a clear envelope. The clear envelopes come with this little piece that you peel off. I already did that, sorry. And there you have an adhesive strip. You'll want to insert your card in this way so that the flap goes on the side where you're going to see the decoration of the card. So you'll sign your card, do whatever you're going to do, and then you're going to address your card on this side. So you put your return address and your to address, the address that you're sending it to. You'll open up your envelope. Put it in there like this, seal it shut, and then you're going to put a postage stamp on the outside. Some post offices are a little pickier about this. I have mailed these with a 1-ounce stamp before, but because it's a little different, your post office may require you to mail it with a 2-ounce or a non-machinable stamp, especially since you have these little guys here now. So I would recommend a non-machinable if you don't want to take a trip to the post office to find out. And here is the second one. This is that same card version, and we're going to add the butterfly to the inside. We're going to add the caterpillar to the outside. What I did is I cut from the edges of my dimensional so I can get slightly narrower dimensionals. And we're just going to have our caterpillar as if it's edging toward the leaf. And then on the inside, instead of having this up on dimensionals, I thought we could add a couple glue dots. Now when you get your kits, they typically do come with some glue dots. This kit did not, but you can save them up and you will have plenty in time if you are a newer subscriber. So we're just putting glue dots through the center of our butterfly, and we're giving a little bit of a fold to the wings where the body and the wing kind of come together. Then another thing I want to do that I wasn't very good at paying attention to on the first card is I don't want the butterfly to appear on the card when it's folded. So I think I'm going to twist it this way instead. All right, so now we have our butterfly with its dimensional wings, but we don't have any dimensions in there. And the same type of format where we've got the fun little doodads here. I brought it up a little higher so we could see the flowers. This one has a little bit more color to the inside. This one I did take the flower and lift it back up and bring it over a tad, so now when it's closed you can't see it. I hope you like those. We've got another project. So this is the one card base in the kit that is not a fun fold. It's fun, but it's not a fun fold. We're going to cut it down the middle and use just this half. So we're going to pop out all the pieces. And if you flip it over, you can see those stars and moon shapes a little bit easier. We're going to grab some basic black cardstock again, and we're going to cut it in half in this direction at 4 1/4 inches. Then we're going to fold it in half at 5 1/2. We're also going to be using some white cardstock, some basic white, and we're going to be using another paper, and you could use really any paper here. You could use your favorite color, you could use a pattern paper if you want, or like a foil paper. I'm going to be using the green piece the blue piece from the 2022 through 24 In Color Glimmer Paper, which will be available to everyone on May 3rd. It's one of several newer products that are going to be debuting in the 2022 through 23 annual catalog, so you'll want to be sure to check that out. We're going to put some score lines, 3 score lines in this piece, and we don't want to separate the moon, so we're going to shove this over a little bit. We're going to score at 1 3/4 inches. Then we're also going to score this side in at 1/4 inch. And we haven't impacted any stars on the edge here. See, there's that one right there. But on this side, it's probably going to, we're going to hit that star just a little bit. But it looks like it'll be okay. So now we're going to take our bone folder, and you're going to run your bone folder along all of those folds and make all the folds nice and crisp. Then we're going to take some adhesive. We're going to use a really strong adhesive. I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to run that along the edge here. This side I'm going to adhere first, and the distance between this edge and here measures 1 3/4 inches. So that is where I'm going to start applying that piece to the inside of my card. So at 1 3/4 inches is where the edge of this is going to connect. And you're probably wondering why I have my multi-purpose liquid glue in that bottle. I just find it's easier to use because you can make a really, really thin line of adhesive with that bottle. So I put it in there. I do have a link for that in my favorites section of my blog, so if you're interested in getting those bottles, you can check it out there. Okay, so I've connected. I've got my piece 1 3/4 inches in, and this is stuck down. Now we're going to fold this over, and we're going to put some adhesive along this edge now. We're going to keep it folded back. We're going to shut the card on itself, and we're going to press and hold. And what you should see when you open it up is a rectangle that looks pretty squared off. We're going to set that aside. We're going to cut our glitter paper now. So our glitter paper, we're going to have light to dark. So light on top, dark on the bottom. You can choose which section you want to cut from, the top part or the bottom part. I'm going to go ahead and choose the bottom part. And we're going to cut this 4 inches tall. And actually, it's best to cut your glimmer paper or glitter paper the other direction. So now we're going to cut our pieces, and we're going to do a 3 1/4 inch piece, and we're going to do a 1 1/4 inch piece, and it might be easier to turn it this way to cut that. We have a better grip on this side of the trimmer. So now you have two pieces like that. And this one will go right here, and this one will go right here. We also have another white piece. This piece measures 3.5 by 4 inches. So all these little pieces here that we punched out earlier are now going to be used to decorate the front of our card and the inside left. Save the largest star for later, and we're gonna glue these down. I think I like the moon showing on the white side so it stands out. Got a little extra glue out here, but I'll be able to rub that away once it dries. Handy dandy, take your pick tool, awesome for adding little tiny embellishments like that. We're going to bring in some glittered organdy ribbon. We're adding this before we do our layers on the inside, because that way we can cover it up. So we're just going to take a length of this, which measures about 14 inches. And we're going to run it through from the inside like this. Make sure it's flat. And because we have the bulk of our decoration on the front of our card up here, we're going to put the knot of our ribbon down in the lower left. So there, we have a nice subtle front to our card. Now let's open it up. You can see the ribbon through there. This is where we're going to cover it up. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. I love it. Now if this bugs you to have this little black line through here, you can bring the pieces a little bit closer together, but if they're right on top of each other, or if the piece is folded, you're going to get buckling. It's going to not open up all the way. It's going to have issues. So you're going to see a line of black, whether it's thin or thicker like this. This piece will now go on this side. Actually, we're going to stamp that first. So let's go ahead and add here the rest of these stars. I'm going to add this last large star with double the glue dots. I have glue dots sticking on both sides of my row on this one. Too funny. And that's going to go right here, and it's going to have a little bit of a dimension to it because I've got the two glue dots behind it. Let's make it look like it's standing. Okay, so you can see I've got some white stars here. There's a few that are brighter and whiter through here, and then I've got that one. So my shooting star is really standing out. I was loving it, but I'm loving it even more because I cut larger glitter pieces. So the new dimensions are 4.5 inches tall, 4.25 inches tall to fit the height of this part of the card, and just a 1/16 of an inch under 3.5, and just a 1/16 of an inch under 1.5. Now we do have that smaller gap in the middle. We still have that black line like I was telling you about, but the glitter paper has come all the way over to this edge here so that the stars, when the card is lying flatter, are still they're still blue all the way across. It's just so pretty. Oh my gosh, I love this card. I've stamped the I Believe in You with tuxedo black ink. We'll add that to the back, or to the inside. This is one of those cards where the wow is definitely on the inside of the card. Kind of plain Jane, and then boom. I'm loving it. This is so pretty. Let's work on the next project. This third project is a box, for those of you that love your 3D projects. When I'm choosing between cardstocks to go with my cards, I look at what color is popping out, and I try to avoid that one because I want to allow that color to still pop. And in this case, we have the Melon Mambo, just really nice and vibrant. Same thing with the daffodils. So I'm picking a secondary color for the base of my box. I'm choosing the green. This is Granny Apple Green. We're going to do a box that's like the 2468 box, but the measurements are a little bit more complicated, but it's the same concept. So if you can follow along with me, you're going to measure at 2 5/8, 5 1/4, 7 7/8, and 10 1/2. So this is what I mean about it's kind of like the 2468. Okay. In the other direction, if you score your cardstock at 2468, you'll have this same type of look with a 1/2 inch strip on this side for adhering. So we're going to connect with that 1/2 inch section on this side. But we needed wider pieces because this particular section of the card I did not want to trim down. I felt like it was going to interfere too much with the flowers that were on the sides, and we wanted to keep this 2.5 inch width. So that was the best I could do. So we're going to cut all of our pieces at 2.5 now. And you can decide which side is better for you. I think I'm going to turn it this way. I feel like I have more clouds on that piece. Although the advantage to have trimmed off this edge here instead of this edge is that my clouds will flow together better on the box, but that's okay because they're clouds, they'll work. All right, next we're going to trim these down, and we are going to trim them to 3.5 inches. Probably should have done that initially, but you'll want to either trim off here or trim off here evenly, and because most of our design is towards the bottom on all of this, we're going to trim off the top. So we'll trim to 3.5 inches on each piece. Had this cardstock been taller, maybe if we'd used like 12 by 12 cardstock or something, we could have probably kept the whole height of this. All right, but we didn't. All right, we're going to trim. We're not going to trim. I'm sorry. We're going to put some score lines in this in the opposite direction now. So instead of score lines this way, we're going to turn it, and we're going to score at 2 1/8 inch. And again, if we had 12 by 12 cardstock, so if this was a taller piece, we'd be able to have our base a little bit bigger. But it will support it enough with the 2 1/8 inch score line. Then in the other direction, we want to do a 1/2 inch, so it's easiest to hold onto your cardstock this way. We're going to do a 1/2 inch from this direction, and then we want to do 2 3/4 inches. So we've done a 1/2 inch, 2 3/4, and now we're going to do some trimming. We're going to trim off, this is the base of the box, we're going to trim off this little extra piece down here. So we're going to cut really close to that score line, and I'm actually angling in a little bit, and we can angle in even more here too. Just so it's not completely straight, it's going to line up a little bit better. So instead of cutting straight through on the score line, we're going to angle towards that score line on either side like this. It's called a miter cut. So you can just eyeball it and cut twice. And then we'll do one more cut right here at the edge. Again, just angling up towards that score line. We have 2 little marks to put into the top of our box. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a little score line here and a score line here to mark the middle of that distance. So from here to here we have 2 5/8 inches. So half of that would be 1 and 5/8 times that would be 10/16, so 5/16. So 1 5/16 would put us right here. 5/16. We're going to place it along here, which puts the whole entire piece of cardstock at just under 4 inches. So you're going to mark just a little score line there. It's just going to help to put a little tick there. And we want another one on this side. So 1 5/16 would put us Sorry, I have to keep pausing the camera once in a while. I have a cold, can you tell? All right, just at just under the 9¼ inch mark, so 9 3/16. Okay, we've got all of those areas set to go. Now we need to do some folding. So we're going to score. Next, we'll add some seal adhesive or some very strong adhesive to this little strip here. And you could use the Tombow glue or any other kind of strong adhesive. The tear and tape adhesive works well, really great actually for this. So then we're going to put the box together, and the easiest way to bring a four-sided box together is to lie one side flat and the other one on top of it like that. You could even go in this direction, or let's see, no, yeah, those would be the two choices you have. So I think it's easiest to do it where it's coming to the center like this, and then use your bone folder to burnish or really press in that adhesive, bond it to the cardstock, and test your box to make sure that it folds in both directions. Okay, so now where did we put those little marks? One is here and one is here. So those are where we're going to pinch in and bring these two top parts together, and that makes kind of like a little carton. You can see the carton forming. And if you want to, you can kind of emphasize those little divots that are in there. Okay, and you can see where we can decorate our box here on these panels. The bottom of the box is going to come together by going back and forth with these flaps. Now, something to note is that you've got the seam of your box here. So I like to bring in that flap first, the one towards the back, and then the two sides, and then this one, because this becomes the front of the box when this is the back. And it just looks a little bit cleaner. Like I was saying earlier, if you used 12 by 12 cardstock to do your box, again, you could make this part taller in this direction. You could even make this part longer in this direction to accommodate the full panel of the 4¼ inch pieces that we originally had. But it's going to be fine. So we're going to go ahead and just adhere this with our adhesive. You'll notice that we can't put adhesive on these sides here. So when you're putting adhesive onto these panels, you want it on this side and on this side, not towards the back ends here. And you will see a slight indentation here because we angle cut. You can make sure that that's nice and secure by pushing down, and then we'll add some adhesive across the whole back of this flap here. All right, now that we know what the front of our box is based on our flaps and our seam, then we can look at these panels and we can decide what we want on the front. So do we want to have our butterfly on the front, our caterpillar on the front, our chrysalis? I'm loving the butterfly on the front. Plus I think if we pop out the wings, that'll be fun. So my thought is that it goes like this. This is the front, the sides. Got it? Okay, so if we're going to do that, we'll just go ahead and start with this piece. I've added all the panels all the way around, and I've added the caterpillar here flat, so it's not sticking out. The butterfly, I have glue dots on the back side so that I can make it pop up and out. And then we have these iridescent rhinestones. The iridescent rhinestones match really well with our white organdy ribbon because we've got some iridescent little pieces of glitter in there, and we're going to be using the ribbon at the top So let's grab some of these rhinestones and embellish our butterfly. I think I'm going to move him over just a tad here. He's a little sparkly guy. Okay, next we're going to add ribbon at the top. I have a couple ideas for you since we don't sell a hole puncher from Stampin' Up. You can either use a regular office hole punch, or you can use a Crop-A-Dial. This is a tool that I have in my favorite things listing in my website, which you'll have a link to. Now, if you're going to use the hole punch, this one here, you can really only punch through maybe 1 or 2 pieces at a time. So you'll punch, and then you'll line it up, and you'll punch again. You know, you can make little pencil marks. But the Crop-A-Dial, gotta love this. You can punch all the way in through several pieces of cardstock, and you can make a smaller hole like we have here. Okay, now that we've got the 2 holes, we can take a length of ribbon, go from the front towards the back, and from the back towards the front. You can make your ribbon any length you want. I have 16 inches, tied it in a bow at the top, and then I added that strip that I threw away that was down here. I added that up here. It's 2.5 inches wide, so I added a piece of basic white cardstock that's 2.5 inches wide by 1.25 inches, and stamped it with a sentiment from the Celebrating You stamp set because Mother's Day is coming up soon. And I just thought that would make the box a little bit more appropriate for an upcoming holiday. So you can definitely use a stamp from this set too, but just wanted to bring in other choices. And if you're a past Paper Pumpkin, a Paper Pumpkin subscriber from past kits, you can look through all of those kits for a fun sentiment that you might want to use other than the ones that came in the kit. All right, the last project. My last page is a 12 by 12 4-page layout. I'm going to be using the card base that has the growing flowers in it, and I'm going to divide that card base into 4 pieces. I've already cut off 1 piece. This will be the start of my 4-page spread. Each of those 4 pieces will be on a different page, and the message or the sentiment that will go on the front page is, "I'm so proud of who you have become." So it will, of course, be great for photos of someone who's growing into a new era of their life, whether it's a child becoming a teenager or whether it's a teenager moving into their new career or something, but just progression type photos I thought would be really great for this spread. For the extra decorative paper, I'm going to cut into one of my envelopes. And by the way, even though this is the last project of this video, I do have several other projects planned. I've already got a plan for quadrupling the cards in the kit, basically taking the kit supplies, adding a bit of extra cardstock, and making it create four times the amount of cards. So this is the way that you make the most of your envelope designer paper, quote unquote, is you cut off the edges so that you have this clean edge here and you don't have tearing along these sides here. Sometimes that happens if you just try to peel it apart. And then you've got all of this to choose from. So I've done that with my envelope that has more of a bluer lining, and I'm now trimming off these edges here so that I can use this portion. I'm going to cut it to just under 4 inches tall. And then I'm going to cut each of these, so I've got a straight cut here, here, and here. I'm going to cut each of those at 3/4 of an inch. And that will give us enough room to tuck them under on the sides of the other papers. This will take care of 2 of the page layouts, and the other one I'm going to, I haven't decided yet, so I'm not even going to say. But yes, definitely visit back because you will see even more alternate project ideas if you return and come back to my blog. I'm not necessarily going to have a video for everything, but definitely visit my blog at stampyourartout.com so that you can see more projects being shared. So this is going to get tucked under here so that it's just giving us a little bit of a black edge around the sides here. We're going to add a yellow flower and the sentiment piece up towards the top to give it a pop of color there. I haven't decided if I'm doing a green background or if I'm going to just go with a white background, but this is where I'm heading so far. So of course I had to cut off a 1/4 of an inch from the top too to make it fit into this 4x4 piece. The photo mats are 3.5 inches wide if they are, well, all of them are 3.5 inches in one direction. These two are 4 inches, and then these are 5.25 inches tall. So I'm going to play around. I'll be right back. I switched it out to white for the background. I just thought there was too much green, and this makes this color pop a little bit more. I took the envelope flap and cut off the one edge here, so I got a 1.5 by, let's see, 1.5 by 3.5. I'm going to make sure that's correct here. My 1.5 by 3.5 inches, yes. So that is that piece down here, and that is going to become a spot for journaling. And then I've got another piece that is this size, so 3.5 by 4, but I've tilted it this way, and that's going to fit in here for yet another photo. I've stamped the sentiment, I'm so proud of who you've become, with the tuxedo black ink on the banner piece. And I've got 2 dimensionals, but I've strategically placed them here and here away from this edge because this is where I'm going to have a little rhinestone. And I've placed this piece here up on dimensionals, but I've got dimensionals under only the 4 corners. So when I place this on here and I've got it centered, I'm going to have it come down just a slight amount here. And then I'm going to add this flower with a glue dot on the back side, and that's going to be sticking out right here. So that when all of this gets flattened into a page protector, you really only have one layer of dimensionals or one layer of, you know, rhinestone thickness because of how they're placed. Do you see this little spot here? Because I had some extra gappage between the 2 5.5 inch pieces, I decided to fill it with a few rhinestones going this way. I could do the same thing with this one, and that would mean I would just trim off a 1/4 of an inch from the top here. But I'm going to kind of see how the layout comes into play and see how it progresses. Okay, we're going to work on the next page. I've got my photo mats and my frame piece that's going to go in the center. This is going to hold the budding flower that looks like this, the 2 other envelope pieces probably that look like this, and then we've got 5.5 inch tall. Did I say these were 5.25? These are 5.5. Sorry, 5.5 inch by 3.5 inch pieces for our photo mats. We've got 4 of those and 2 that are 3.5 by 4. So here's the first 2-page layout, and I'm liking this. I'm liking it a lot. I didn't find it was necessary to do any extra cut here because we've got the balance. We've got the rhinestones here, here, and here. So it's kind of like a triangle. Journaling spot down here, little pop of bling with the title. Now the next 2 pages are going to have these pieces on them, and because the first 2 pieces were 2.5 inches wide, and if I cut this in half it'd be 2 3/4, I'm actually gonna trim in a little bit and just cut right up to there and then cut over 2.5 inches, and then I'll cut another 2.5 inches from the remaining piece where I think it's going to look the best. That way our pages look balanced. That looks pretty good. The flower still looks somewhat in the center. And then on this one, I think I'm going to trim off this as the extra side here. So we're going to go to 2.5 inches here, and we'll just trim in like that. That way our stem will be centered. We're going to pop it up even higher, which means we need to fill it in. So we're going to add these flowers in here, and that will kind of make those floating leaves and stems a little bit less noticeable. When I'm cutting my photo mats, I think I made the best use of my 8.5 by 11 black cardstock when I cut to 3.5 inches this way, and then I took and I cut to 4 inches, and then I took this piece, cut it to 4 inches, and what's remaining is 7 inches, which when cut in half is at the 3.5 inch mark. So that's how I got my 3.5 by 4 inch pieces and my 4 by 4 for the center. And then for the longer pieces, this piece cut in half gives us 5.5 by 3.5. So we only wasted about that much cardstock. Now when we cut the other pieces, because we'll need a few more of the taller ones, we're going to cut to 3.5. And then we have to again cut to 3.5, which uses that as scrap, right? But you're going to have a little bit of scrap no matter how you cut it. And we'll just cut those together. So now we have 4 more 5.5 by 3.5 inch pieces. When adding my photo mats, I'm eyeballing, making sure that I have about 1/4 inch on the borders, and I'm adding the outside pieces first, and then I'm adding the pieces that will go between them along the edges. And then finally I'm adding the middle. Okay, we're going to have another journaling place down here. This is actually going to become our last page, so we need to cut up this remaining piece of the envelope. We need a piece that will fit down here, and really I'm just kind of seeing what section I like. I think I like this section here for the journaling. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out that portion. I do have a little bit of a score line here, so I'm going to trim that off first. And then I'm going to trim to 1.5 inches. And I'll rotate in this direction and trim to 3.5. And this will become my journaling section down here. And then I just need a few more borders for the outside edges of this piece. And I'm left with, luckily, 3 inches. So I'm going to cut my pieces to 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4. Now we want our pieces to fit inside that 4 by 4 square. So we're going to first cut in this direction, just under 4 inches, so 1/8 inch under 4 inches. I can either cut on this side or I can cut with mostly blue. I'm thinking I like the mostly blue. So we're going to cut in this direction. So 3 7/8 inches. Right now I'm working on the last page, so I decided to pick the more dominant looking design. I've also already added my flowers with glue dots, and I've put an iridescent rhinestone in the center. And I want this flower to pop up as well, so keeping in mind where our other dimensionals are, I'm going to make sure that my dimensionals are towards the lower half of this flower. The side strips were way too loud for the design, so I switched them out. I actually took the other ones that you'd seen and I put those there instead. I put the louder ones here, and then the ones that I had here, because I thought that needed more color, the other ones I put down here. So now it's time to add a few more rhinestones. And my 4-page layout is now complete, ready for lots and lots of photos. These 2 pages are going to go back to back from each other, so I had to make sure that my rhinestones were not going to cause too much thickness for that section of my scrapbook. So here are the first 2 pages, and here are my second 2 pages. Now that you've watched my video, I hope that you can see that there's so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more. Want to give Paper Pumpkin kits a try? They're just $23.50 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. And by clicking on my personalized link below and starting your subscription with me as your demonstrator, you will have access to my exclusive Paper Pumpkin project ideas too. What's in store next month? Get your hands on the new 2022 through 24 In Colors and get a chance to win a golden voucher inside your May 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit containing 10 cards, 2 of 5 different designs. But of course, I'll show you how to make more than that, so make sure that you have an active subscription by May 10th. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. To access Paper Pumpkin Kit ideas that I'll share in the future, be sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and to my website, because I share even more each month in other special blog posts. In fact, click on my website link below so that you can access the visual supply list and view close-up photos of all of these things that I shared today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.